Rick Conti is a professional speedboat racer.
I've raced everything my whole life. I'm a speed demon. Started from a young boy, and I knew after the first time in a race boat that I was hooked. And that was quite a while ago, and I'm still going strong.
Rick won the 2002 American National Championship in the superboat class, crossing the water at velocities in excess of 300 kilometers per hour.
Offshore boat racing is addicting. Once you feel the speed, it's such a adrenaline rush.
A gutsy driver is only part of the equation. Wealthy investors and visionary designers are all needed for successful boat racing. Thane Teemer is a leading speedboat designer.
You can have anything from a pair of 500 horsepower motors to 2,000 horsepower motors, or turbine engines people are even putting in them. So it's basically what the pocketbook can afford is what people will power with.
This here is a propulsion system that articulates. It's pivoted in here, and then this trims up and down according to the driver.
With this propulsion system, both engines can be turned right or left or up and down simultaneously. The angle of propulsion is determined by wave conditions.
As it comes in, the bow will go down, and then the bow will go up, according to how you want to set the boat. The ideal position for the drives is to have them at basically this line here. You want that running with the line of the bottom of the boat, because that means the propeller is pushing the boat forward. The propeller is not going down, it's not going up, but it's moving the vessel forward. The speed of the boat is determined not only by horsepower, but the efficiency of the hull.
Fast ships fall into two categories of hull design: catamaran and mono.
The difference between the monohull and the cat hull is the monohull is based on a V-shaped configuration which uses the pressure off the water to give it lift. And once it gives lift, it becomes freer and moves along. We call that hydraulics. It uses water for its lift. Cat hull is the absolute opposite of that. What a cat hull is, it is two running surfaces that have an air entrapment between it. As the boat picks up speed, it packs more and more air between the sponsons, and that's what gives it lift. Sponsons are the running surfaces. The two surfaces actually touch the water. And when you get the air lifting the hull, well, then it becomes very efficient, and the sponsons then basically become just a guide for the boat where the air is doing the lifting as opposed to a V-bottom where the water is doing the lifting. The center area becomes basically a wing. It creates pressure underneath there, and that's what lifts the boat and makes it accelerate forward more easily than, say, a V-bottom that actually has to cut through the water.
Bob Leach is the president and founder of Eliminator Boats.
We've been running in Pacific offshore racing for the last 3 years with that boat and have had great success. We've won the championship for the last 3 years in a row and finished third place at the World Championships in Key West, Florida last year.
Using air entrapment hull technology, the Daytona 36 can reach speeds of over 200 kilometers per hour. Still, even a modern fiberglass boat starts its life as a wooden plug.
The basic process in starting a new model, say, like the 36 Daytona, we'll make our drawing. From the drawings, we start building it just out of wood. All the boat, the whole thing, it's called plug making. What we do is we build a full-scale prototype model, and we make that out of wood and Bondo, and then bring it up to a high gloss finish. So now you have a shape of, like the 36 Daytona, you will have that shape in wood and Bondo, and it is basically just a full-scale model. And then from that, we will make a series of laminations, lay up a material that will adhere to it until we're ready, and then we will take it off. This here mold will be all cleaned and buffed, and then the lamination process begins inside.
We actually paint the mold first, so when the boat comes out of the mold, it already has all its graphics and colors on it.
So, just got to shoot both parts simultaneously, deck and hull in this small boat. It probably takes them anywhere from 6 to 8 hours to complete this process. We are right now in our lamination department. Here's a tunnel boat here and about, halfway through, construction stage here. They've got all the coring set in there.
The reinforced mold is laminated with layers of fiberglass and epoxy resin. When the resin has cured, the deck and hull are separated from the mold and ready for final assembly.
And then these two lucky gentlemen get in there and bond it all together.
After it's all nice and shiny, I'll go into the rigging department where you'll be outfitted with instruments and a powertrain and upholstery, and we've got about 40 to 50 guys depending on our workload at that time.
This is it right here. This is the final product here, 36 Daytona Super Cat Light offshore race boat.
On completion, the boats are tested, tuned, and ready to race.
My racing career, I started offshore racing like 5 years ago, so I'm fairly new at it. I raced like inboard marathon tunnel boats, won a few races, crashed a few times, broke a few boats, came out unscathed, both times, fortunately. But I'm basically having a lot of fun, learning stuff every single day I'm out there.
Offshore racing challenges not only the boats, but also the drivers to perform their best. Not everyone can meet the challenge. Revolutionary techniques allow boat builders to push designs to the limit and reach unprecedented and sometimes dangerous speeds.
When I started racing back in the 80s, I would lose one friend every year to offshore boat racing. I had a crash back in 1993 in a 40-foot superboat where it completely rolled a 360 barrel roll at approximately 115 miles an hour.
Easy, Bob. Yeah.
I had minor injuries. The driver had minor injuries. We walked away from it. We did approximately $100,000 damage on the boat. It was the first time the boat was in the water. It was driver error. I was carrying a lot of speed with an inexperienced driver. He made a couple of wrong moves on the wheel and we were on our head. When you crash one of these boats, it's like nothing else in the whole world. The problem is, it happens so quickly. By the time, even if they're over your head, when that boat rolls over, you're strapped in. The water immediately overtakes you. We have onboard air systems. Some boats have just an onboard system where you can grab the regulator and put it in your mouth. In other boats, the gentlemen ride with the air 100% of the time. Through the years, the technology has got intense. The boats, they're probably 40, 50 miles an hour faster. They've done an awful lot with aerodynamics. Catamaran basically flies in the air and just touches the surface of the water.
In the States, professional racer, speed demon Rick Conti, is preparing for the New York Superboat National Championship.
A little tension now as we start to get ready for the start of the race. Boat's all prepared, ready to go. Crew chief's just checking everything over. And basically, we're ready to rock.
Rick is the throttle man for Team Jaguar. Joe Soboleski, the driver, and the crew captain is Jay Castelline.
I'm clear. Clear to dock. In the offshore race boats, you have a driver and a throttleman, and in some boats they use a navigator. The driver, of course, listens to the throttleman on when to turn and where to go. The throttleman determines where the boat's going to go and how much speed is carried at what time, whether it's in the corner, on the straightaway, when you're coming up to traffic, because in Superboat racing, all the classes run together.
Offshore racing boats require a team of two, one person on the throttle and one steering and trimming the boat.
In the New York race on the Hudson, the Snack Attack boat will be running against the Aqua Toy Store 50-foot Jaguar Cat, and it can achieve speeds well over 170 miles an hour. It also has 4 engines. I believe that boat runs over 165 miles an hour with only 2 engines. That's amazing.
This is not a sport for the faint-hearted. Offshore races attract the most powerful boats in the world. Huge expense and danger, elite powerboats battle it out on New York's Hudson River every year to see who'll be named national champion. But racing doesn't come cheap. Joe Perez is throttle man for one of the lead competitors, Snack Attack.
The engines are expensive. Each engine will run about 65 to 75,000 US. The drives are about 55,000 US a pair. Rigging, it's an expensive sport. I have no doubt that the boat will finish. I have no doubt that the boat is prepared 100% for a race.
Our boat is Snack Attack, and we're right currently in 3rd place for the national championship. So we're feeling pretty confident going into this New York race. Competition is always competition. You've got to look out for them. But we think we have the edge.
The plan would be that we're going to try and stay with Aqua Toy Store as best as we can, make sure that they don't get too far away from us.
While the Snack Attack team contemplates their strategy, their competition, Aqua Toy Store, is preparing their 4-engine, 5,000 horsepower Super Cat.
This year, I believe this is the 8th race. We're standing #1 in the points. Basically, you know, our goal would be tomorrow is just to get out there and run a fair race. We're not going to get crazy with the thing. We always come to win.
As 50 of the most powerful, high-performance boats in the world wait for the starting signal, the US Coast Guard and helicopters stand by in case of an emergency. All classes of boats race together. It's the individual boat's cumulative points earned during the entire season that will determine the national champion. The starter lights the flare.
We have smoke.
And the race is on. The 162-kilometer race is run in a series of 10.5-kilometer laps, running nearly the length of Manhattan and back again. A superboat can cost as much as $1 million to buy and almost that much per year to maintain. It would take 5 Formula One race cars to equal the power of a Jaguar superboat. Danger increases as each boat creates wake after wake. Along with all the bumps and jolts,
Let's go, baby, go! Put the hammers down!
the driver must take into account the sharp turns in every lap. Stopping the boat is not that different from hitting a brick wall at over 270 kilometers per hour. Precise timing, experience, and skill account for the success and survival of the teams as they work to cross the finish line. Snack Attack and Team Jaguar push their boats to winning times in their respective classes.
They are national champions right here.
The thrill of the race is second only to the thrill of victory, when each winning team shares $75,000.